The October 2nd, 2025 Des Moines City Council Committee of the Whole is now called to order. The Committee of the Whole is a council's opportunity to hear briefings from the staff on a variety of subjects and emerging issues in the city. It's a time for council education and an opportunity to offer input and direction to staff. Though the public is invited to attend, it's not a time for public interaction, so no formal council action will be expected this evening. Please note, let me see, that is Yoshiko.
Councilmember Grace Matsui just texted me that she is unavailable tonight.
For the whole evening?
Yeah.
Okay. So, 6 council members are in attendance, and I need a motion to excuse Councilmember Grace Matsui.
So moved.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. Okay, 6-0. So thank you. Councilmember Grace Matsui is excused. So the first item that we have up is the Planning Commission discussion, and the purpose of this item is to, and I didn't say that Councilmember Nutting is attending remotely, but we didn't need a vote for that. So back to, discussion on the composition of the coming Planning Commission. So we're going to receive a briefing and some information from Community Development Director Rebecca Deming. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. This is a continuation from last week. I'm going to go over a little bit what we discussed and make sure we had a little bit of a consensus of where we're at. We talked about the number of commissioners, and I believe we had a consensus on 7 with a 4-year term, and that we were looking at appointment by the full council versus a mayoral appointment and council confirmation. The membership would be 5 members with either experience or interest in the topics related to land use, growth management, and housing. Generally, not 1 each, but 5 that would have those interests. 2 general members. The commissioners would not sit on any other city standing commissions or committees. And what was left undecided is whether you guys wanted to include a business owner who may not reside in the city, who would reside possibly in a nearby community. We did not touch yet on the duties and responsibilities, so we were looking to get guidance on what you'd like included. Usually this includes things like providing guidance and direction, review staff proposals, hold the public hearings, and then submit recommendations to the City Council. It can include a caveat where they can review other matters as directed by the City Council. So for today, we're looking for, would the council want to permit planning commissioners who have a business in the city but do not reside here? We're looking to find out what you'd like to include for the planning commission to review. What are you comfortable with? Things like the development code updates, the comprehensive plan amendments, development agreements, master plan, zone changes, and shoreline management. And then they also serve as the advisory group for land use issues or special initiatives related to long-term planning, and can be tasks with responsibilities at the additional direction of council. Does council wish to include additional language that outlines this possibility? We've included draft language that was in the original agenda and here on the presentation that we can use as direction. So it's just sample consideration. The next steps would, once we have this direction, would we bring back the draft ordinance and hold a public hearing, have the second reading, and then we could go out and do recruitment. Then we would start the commission. I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Excellent. Okay, any questions? Deputy Mayor Steinmetz and then Councilmember Harris.
I don't know if there's any way to quantify, but if there is, that'd be great. In terms of having business owners that are not residents of the city, is that common elsewhere? It seems odd to me.
It's not uncommon. I wouldn't say it's common. When doing research of how many have it, I found quite a few that do, but it's not that it's all of them have it.
Is it limited in any way?
I found a lot of cities, if they've got, it wasn't always a business owner, but I found a lot of cities if they were not If they had county areas, they'd allow people in the county. So there were plenty of communities that allowed residents that were outside the city. So for instance, if they would say, hey, if you live in the zip code, you could be a member even if one person, even if you didn't live in the city. Or if they were wanting to incorporate business owners, then they would have one business owner. So it wasn't unusual to have a commissioner that did not reside in the city.
All right. Councilmember Harris.
Thank you. Since you also run the airport committee, I was just, this outline doesn't seem to offer any autonomy to the group. And so I'm wondering, is there any room for the group to decide to research things? I'm honestly, we'll get these things from master builders or other organizations about, innovative new stuff. And it seems to me that it might be useful to have this group, take some time and do some sort of preliminary work as to how valuable those kind of things are. Or maybe not, I don't know. What is your point of view on that stuff?
In my experience, these are usually full-time working professionals, and they don't have time to do that work other than read their packets. What we've come across in experience is they can put together a work program request that could come to council, but those kinds of requests would require staff time and research, and that would have to be a priority put together by the council or by staff on what that priority would be, because that would be additional staff time to do that research to present to them for their input that would then eventually come to council. So if they just said, hey, do this, that would be saying, oh, sure, how many hours is that going to be spent of staff time putting that together for them to evaluate, because they wouldn't normally be able to do that on their own.
Okay, but the interesting thing, and what I thought I heard, was just that most people who tend to sign up for this sort of thing don't really have an interest in that kind of deal.
It's not an interest, it's the time. It's not their full-time job to be a planning commissioner.
No, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Councilmember Nutting, do you have a question? Just checking in. No? Okay. Councilmember Oxiger.
Do we have any insight on what the definition is of a nearby community?
I wanted to leave that up to you, whether you want it to be a directly adjacent, whether you wanted to have a distance, or whether you just wanted a business. It was mentioned by you guys to say nearby at the last meeting. My original request was an idea of a business owner that had a business here for 1 year. I did not have the idea of nearby. I added that based on what I heard at the last meeting.
And so how many of the 7 positions then would be business?
We originally proposed 1.
So, and that person could not, could potentially not live in the city.
Correct.
I think that, given the limited number of business people, that it should be restricted to people in the city.
Okay. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Thank you. I would agree that I think that people on the council, business or otherwise, should reside in the city. That makes me comfortable. Are we just dealing, first of all, with the question number 1?
Let's go one at a time, just
Okay,
for clarity, so we don't jump all over the page there. So since that was the first topic, do we have any more comments on the businesses? Okay, Councilmember, I'm going to go with Councilmember Mahoney first, since he hasn't spoken yet.
I disagree that they have to be a resident. You have a business that's been here for 40 years, and they don't live here, but they're very committed to the community. I think they could be valuable. The one thing I'll say is, why close down the options of quality candidates by surely having a residency? I know there's probably more residents than not that own businesses here that don't live in the city. You're limiting your options when you do that. That's what I'm calling out. So now it's going to be the council that's going to approve it, right? So if you get 2 or 3 candidates and one happens to live in the city, that might weight more for you guys and your determination in the future. But to completely eliminate the option is just short-sighted. Thank you.
Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, I actually, I agree with that. At least anecdotally, the majority of business owners that have persisted here do not reside in the city of Des Moines. So, and, you know, if you're looking in terms of talent, you should look at the people who have been here a while and so forth. I would even expand it to 2, provided that they were geographically disparate. I think it might be useful to have a business owner who represents the Pacific Highway Corridor versus people who represent the downtown. But, you know, that's by the by. I do think if it's limited to 1, it should be open to people who are non-residents. Thank you.
All right. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Just a follow-up question. Do we have any numbers as to how many business owners actually live here rather than just anecdotal evidence?
I don't have any of those numbers. I apologize.
All right, thank you.
Okay. I'll weigh in. I agree with Council Members Mahoney and Harris that that doesn't mean that you can't choose somebody from, you may make that a priority when people apply and say, well, that the council would rather, but I do agree with the observation that it would cut off options, and I agree. We do have several amazing business owners that would bring a lot to the table if we had the option. We may really appreciate that option. So I'm going to weigh in on the allow them to live outside. So I guess you're looking for a head nod. All those who feel in favor of allowing somebody to live outside the city but be a business owner inside the city, and with 1 year under their belt here in the city. Do we have enough head nods to bring that forward? There's 3 and 4 head nods to bring that forward in your draft. So that was that completes the questions for number 1, correct? Those
Correct.
were your answers. Okay, so number 2, do we feel comfortable with this list? Is there anything you would like to eliminate or add? Anybody want, Councilmember Mahoney?
So I'm comfortable with this list. Obviously, I'm only in a legacy type mode here of what the new councils will encounter. The thing I'm going to say is that why I'm not in favor of a planning commission in general is because of the fact that councils inevitably decide, and I believe there's a lot of work being done. But if it's the will of the council, it's the will of the council. The one thing I would caution my fellow colleagues on is that what's happened before and happened in other cities in my conversations is you get a lot of bureaucracy and red tape in addition. And something that should take 6 months may take a year or 18 months. So the more you try to put on their plate and the more complicated it gets, the more skewed it could become and the longer certain things could take in order to meet deadlines. And I just think I'm fine with this list here. I would be reluctant to expand it because I think it might be one of those things where you start with a short list, you work it, and then you may see opportunity and advantage for other types of subjects to be added later. But, and of course, you've also always got this caveat where council can designate a project to the planning commission later. So by expanding it or trying to refine it too much is also, like I said before, short-sighted. So that's what I have on it.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Shoreline management, to me, is a very well-defined term at the state level.
Correct.
How would that be defined at this level, and what would that entail from a planning commission?
It's as strict right now because our shoreline development permit process is within a shoreline management plan. It's not within our municipal code. And so it's already spelled out where that public hearing process is. That's in front of the city council. We will have to update our shoreline management plan in about 1.5 years. And so that's when we would bring back the idea that the public hearing could go in front of the planning commission. So that would be the different like shoreline variances or shoreline development permit. It's a process that's mapped out. Right now, we were just proposing that they could review it and make a recommendation, but the public hearing would still take place in front of the city council, just because that's the process that's lined out in that shoreline management plan. So it's a kind of an odd situation, but the general purpose and description, usually most planning commissions make that recommendation, including making a recommendation on your shoreline management plan program.
How far from the shoreline is encompassed on that, so that people have some sense?
That changes depending on legislation, best manager practices. So when we do our update, we're going to be just talking about it. They've talked a lot of legislation recently, had to do with tree falls and different best available sciences. So we're going to be looking at all those new legislations that are coming out. I've been learning a lot about tree fall lately regarding the shorelines, and it's very complicated related to that. Some places have 100 feet, 200 feet. It's all different. So you look at each shoreline management program for looking at those kinds of things.
And then from the comp plan amendments and the master plan, that's generally been a council vision piece.
Correct.
How would that be different in with the planning commission?
So they would review it, hold the public hearing, listen to the public, make changes, and then make their recommendation to the council. Then the council reviews it and makes that final vision and determination.
Okay. We're asking questions, or can I comment?
Well, let's finish with any other clarifying questions. No, for Jeremy. All right, so go ahead if you've got a comment on that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, my sense is that I think the vision, the long-term vision, and the comp plan and master planning pieces in particular belong to the council. I understand that there are processes to go through, but I think I'm not sure I'm comfortable giving that to a planning commission, because I think we need to hear from the constituents ourselves before passing that, and not necessarily having an unelected body make recommendations for that. I think the rest of this is fairly technical and a certain amount of expertise that goes into it, and so that would be my choice, is to eliminate comp plan amendments and eliminate the master plan, and shoreline management sort of to be TBD when the time comes, in terms of that. But I think that still provides a lot of work for a planning commission to do as we're moving forward, that is consistent with the vision of a planning commission that's appointed to do a particular job. And so that's my sense.
Councilmember Harris.
First of all, I want to thank you for, embarking on this journey. No, I mean, seriously, but it really will depend on the quality of the contestants. That's really what it is. So it's an experiment, and, let's give it a shot. Shoreline management, I'm just like, that's right up there with airport technicality, and it's 9 agencies, maybe more, and I just can't see, no matter how diligent people, but I would disagree with my colleague in that I do believe that the comp plan and master plan kind of stuff, it's something that they can, I look at this in the successful models I've seen as them just go, if there is the will, they go out and do a certain amount of legwork. And it's not decision-making, it's essentially just, it will allow the city to cover more ground in, making improvements. But, that's just my feeling on it. But again, all of this will just depend on the interest level of the people. And so, thank you again. That's it.
Okay, I have a question in regard to when it says master plan, any master plan. The Marina master plan, or when you're talking about master, is it any master plan Parks master plan,
Correct.
right? And then,
Related to land use or,
okay. And okay, I think that's it then for me. So I guess I'm going to ask this. I'll just say yes or no. We've got a list. Would you like to, I'm going to call out a couple numbers. Would you like to leave that under the purview of number 3? In other words, let's start with number 2. Would you like to leave comprehensive plan amendments under the purview of 3, where the council can task the PC with the preview of the comp plan amendments? So, go ahead.
Mayor, clarifying.
Yes.
So what you're saying is you're going through our list on number 2,
Yes.
and we're defining the items that are definitely going to be in that 2.
Correct.
That's part of the thing. But other ones, like you're mentioning comprehensive plan, are going to be something that is discretionary to the council to assign to the committee.
Exactly, because
Okay.
a couple of the council members have recommended eliminating those. So, to your point earlier, you said, well, if the council wants to assign something, so and then to Councilmember Harris's point, if we have a very high-functioning planning commission that we really have confidence in, we may say, we or they, the council coming up in the future, could say, I would like, and it would be also up to staff to bring it to their attention. Where this review process is coming up, you have the option of referring this to the planning commission before it comes to you, if you would like. Or we leave it definitely under number 2. Is that how that would work? Go ahead.
Can I just make one clarification? If the council has discomfort with the idea of some of these items only having a public hearing at the planning commission level, you can absolutely say, for all comp plan amendments and zoning changes, there should be a second public hearing at our level when we take it under consideration. So that's absolutely at your discretion if you want to do that.
Okay, Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, I'm thinking of it as a basic transparency level in that the website would have a page that says Planning Commission, and that would be like the one-stop shop for any resident who is interested in the vision of the city, where we're going with any of these development things, and whether or not they are, running the actual hearing process or whatever. What I have heard from residents is that they want to see what direction the city is going in. And so that's really where my mind goes to, is just, here's the planning page of the website, and this shows you what kinds of things we're working on.
Now, does this concept tie into this conversation, or is this another conversation that needs to be had?
One last thing, because what people get confused at is they're like, well, I didn't know about this hearing or this thing, and they don't understand the division into these different legal definitions. So just having that one landing page.
I know, but so it almost sounds like this is a different, like another slide.
Fair enough.
So what staff needs right now is, when they bring this draft back to us, which items under number 2 should be included as more of an absolute, and which items would you like to take out of that list and put under the purview of number 3, where the council can task them with it if they feel comfortable. So that's what I'm going to ask. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's
So number 2, How many council members wish to take number 2 off of item 2 and put it under number 3? Comprehensive plan amendments. Okay, well, so 5 of us would like to move that, okay? The other one was the master plan. How many of us would like to move the master plan under that type of category as well? 4 or 5 of us would like to do that. And the other one was shoreline management. How many of us would like to do it like that? It looks like 4 of us would like to do shoreline management. So now, is that clear? So I'm just about ready to move to number 3, if that's clear to everybody. All right, good. So number 3, are you comfortable with the idea of they can be tasked with miscellaneous things even beyond this scope of here? Okay, sounds like there's a general head nod there. The wording that you showed us, I think it's maybe on the next slide, does that wording cover the decisions the direction that we just gave you?
Yes, it'll need to be edited because they'll have to like subtract shoreline management and
Okay.
things like that, but we'll.
All right. So is that all clear for you? Do you feel like you got everything you needed?
I believe so.
Okay, any other input, council, on that? Councilmember Nutting? All right. Okay, good. Well, that's great. Looks like we got that one taken care of. Good. And I'm echoing, I think, Councilmember Harris. You put a lot of work into preparing for this discussion, and that is why we did it in less than 30 minutes, in less than 25 minutes. And that chart that you put together, so comprehensive, a lot of work. Thank you. Appreciate it. And I think Catherine might have been involved in helping, but okay. So thank you very much. All right. So now the council is going to dismiss to executive session under RCW 42.30.1101G in order to discuss the performance of a public employee. The session is expected to last for 15 minutes until, well, I'm just going to call it 5:45. So that's more like 16 or 17 minutes. All right. We're extending the executive session for 6 minutes to 5:50. The October 2nd, 2025 Des Moines City Council study session is now called to order. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz will now lead us in the pledge. Please stand if you're able.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let the record show that 6 council members are present. Councilmember Nutting will be joining us tonight remotely, and that Councilmember Grace Matsui is asked to be excused tonight. I would like to entertain a motion to excuse.
So moved.
I have a motion and second. Any discussion? All in favor, raise your right hand. 6-0. So her absence is excused tonight. To all the public joining us tonight, welcome, and thank you for being here. Appreciate it. For those watching on Channel 21, please recognize, or online, please recognize that we cannot attend to our phones from the dais. So if you have any technical problems while you're viewing, please email cityclerk@desmoineswa.gov. So now it's time for comments from the public, and because it's a study session, we will only be entertaining comments that apply to the subjects of the meeting tonight, and those are our legislative priorities, community enrichment services, which used to be Parks, Rec, and Senior Services, and the discussion of a public safety sales tax. Other subjects can be heard at our next regular meeting, and please note that it is campaign season, so we will not be able to entertain any comments that could be interpreted as supporting a candidate. So if you come to the podium, you please state your name and your city of residence, and you'll have 3 minutes to speak. Do we have anybody signed up? Is there anybody who is attending tonight who expected to speak for public comment and didn't realize they needed to sign up in order to do so? All right, then we'll move forward. So we've got a few discussion items tonight, beginning with our legislative agenda. The purpose of this item is to receive a briefing and open a discussion about potential items and issues for advocacy during our legislative session coming up in 2026, and we've invited our legislative advocate, Anthony Hempstead, to come and give us a presentation tonight. Thanks, Anthony.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council and members of the community and staff. We'll quickly talk about what the overall environment for this coming session and what we can expect. And we've already had some discussions about what the council might be interested in us championing in the year ahead. So we want to advance that discussion as much as possible. And hopefully we don't have to finalize it tonight, but make sure that we get as much input from each of you on what we want to be pushing for in 2026. And of course, 2026 will be the second year of a 2-year biennium, and so bills that were introduced last year will still be and not passed will still be alive. So it's kind of the continuation of this past year. Second year of the budget, so there will be a supplemental budget, much smaller budget than was passed last year as well, but there will still be some opportunities for trying to get additional funding or add back funding on areas that we're interested in pursuing. Reminder of what happened this year here in 2025. In funding, we did receive another $1 million for the Marina Steps. And that was direct to the city of Des Moines. Also, the air quality monitoring system that we advocated for, but that money went to UW. But the monitor will be here. And there were a variety of policy bills that we worked on as well that passed. Mostly in public safety, but also significantly there will be some more local funding that will be coming to the city and hopefully helping with your 2026 budget. Although most significantly is the expansion of sales tax onto a variety of different services, which kicked in as of Wednesday. Okay. The political environment, as you know, the election is coming up in just a few weeks. For the legislature, that means there are several special elections, including one in the 33rd, as I'm sure you're getting lots of mail at all of your homes right now, as that's one of the most hotly contested races in the state currently. And so we may or may not have a new House member from the 33rd. But next year, it's a larger year for legislative elections as opposed to just the handful of special elections that are going on this November, meaning all 98 House seats will be up and about half of the Senate seats up, 25 of the 49 Senate seats. And while last year neither of our Senate seats were up, this year both of them will be, both in the 30th and 33rd. At this point, we would expect that both Senator Wilson and Senator Orwell would be running for re-election. We don't know, haven't heard of anything other than that. We're also expecting several initiatives to be on the ballot already for 2026. And mentioning initiatives because the initiatives they were a throttle on some of the things that were being discussed in last year's legislative session, and they may head off some things that might otherwise be introduced this year, specifically on taxes. And that might have been the biggest reason that the increase in or lifting the cap on property tax did not go through and be passed last year because it came very, very close. But there was a poll that was out there, and there's already talk about an initiative to roll that back, and the poll was looking like an initiative would succeed in that. And so the specter of initiatives will be over the legislature as we go into the session. And of course, on a U.S. level, all House members will be up, but neither of our U.S. senators will be up. Quickly on the federal level. Things are good. Things are terrible. We do have $850,000 in the budget right now for Midway Park. Of course, you have me around to give you value-added feedback. I have no idea what is going to be happening with the federal budget. Obviously, we're at a shutdown right now. There have been talk that the only way that a budget is going to pass was part of the grand bargain, and it would be including all these earmarks, because earmarks are scattered around for most congressional districts. But yeah, we've got a shutdown. Probably the most likely scenario is the same thing that happened this past year, in that they end up eventually doing a continuing resolution, and the continuing resolutions did not include things like earmarks. So maybe, but don't know. And again, the level of uncertainty on all things federal right now is just off the charts. So you're welcome for that very helpful feedback. The session to come, it will be a short session, 60 days. And so that's why it's very important that we get an agreement as quickly as possible on what we want to try to achieve. Because once that session starts, 60 days goes very, very quickly. And so we need to have it set up and ready to go. This is going to be, okay, last session was brutal. and you heard about that multiple times through the course of the session. We had a huge budget deficit, ended up in being resulting in significant budget cuts for the state, and also programs on a variety of different programs that are shared with local governments. Were also hit, and that was paired with the largest tax increase in state history. Since that time, since they adjourned in April, things have gotten worse. And already from the April budget till now, because a budget forecast came out last Tuesday, and their projections, because they have to project over a 4-year time period, they're already projecting $1.6 billion less in receipts than they had expected last April. That is a terrible trajectory in such a short period of time. So already they're looking at, and the legislature, when it leaves town in March, that needs to be balanced. It will take either more tax increases or budget cuts in order to get in line, the budget to be in line. This is going to be a tough session, and it will be very hard to get new money for projects. Although with that challenge that the legislature is facing, they will be looking at potential new revenues. There's already a variety of discussions, and hopefully, if the state is looking, there will be ways for local governments to get new revenues as well, because the legislatures are hearing that most local governments are hurting too. It's not just the state. And we have fewer opportunities for raising revenue than the state does. So, for the capital budget, as we've talked a little bit about in the past, but I think even more so going forward for 2026, City of Des Moines has done very, very well in the last few years in getting capital budget requests. The time that the last 6 years that we have been working together, we've gotten something every year, and something, and usually quite significant. This year, suggesting we do something different and not ask, because sometimes it's helpful, just like in agriculture, sometimes you let a field go fallow for a year, let it regenerate, one, I think it's going to be really hard to get funding, and also I think legislators appreciate it when we recognize that it's going to be really hard for them to do that, and we'll be in a better position to come back and say, hey, we didn't ask last year, but this coming year, whatever program we have in 27 will hopefully be a better year to be asking for money too. Mike, I don't see Mike here tonight, but he's got a full plate, and we've got a bunch of capital projects and transportation projects that are happening. We need to digest those, and then we'll be in a better position to go forward. So, unless there's something burning that we really need to try to get funding for, would suggest we skip it. Lots of different things on policy issues, and kind of based off of, again, since it's a biennium, we had several things we're working on here in 25. I think most of those will bridge over into 2026. Public safety, while House Bill 2015 did pass, and there is local government funding in that, a lot of the guidelines still haven't been issued. And so, yes, that's happening, and you are acting on that here later tonight as well. But there will likely have to be perfecting legislation for 2015, which we will want to help move along, and also protect those funds, because there's $100 million out there for that, and that was new money, and there may be pushback again with the challenge that the state budget is facing. Airport issues, a variety of different things that we will want to be looking at for trying to help minimize and mitigate the health impacts that SeaTac Airport has here on Des Moines. There's been talk of a SAMP-related study on those impacts, so we will be in a better position to respond to SAMP and to help to justify mitigation that the city and residents could receive in the future. On ferries, the Mosquito Fleet Restoration Act passed one house and then died in the Senate last year. It goes back to the House, but there will be a push to move that forward, and we were very active on that last year. Would recommend that. Again, this is a long-term thing, but it will be very helpful to have that pass this year if possible. So this was our agenda for last year, or last session, this year, which we agreed to, and we can kind of walk through bit by bit. All of you have seen it. It's been approved. Some of these things have passed, but that can somewhat be the basis as we look forward to 2026. And so do we want to go through those different buckets, and if there are ideas that councilors have of additions, subtractions? Of course, on this one, Redondo Fishing Pier is out, and we swapped that after the council moved money to Redondo, so that was fully funded, and then we went after and got funding for the marina steps, and so X that out.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, I think probably the best way is just to hit the broad categories. You don't have to be perfect wordsmiths tonight. Like, we'll take your feedback and we will bring back a draft. So I think hearing high-level thoughts or asks is most helpful.
Yeah.
Okay, great. So let's go down the line. Public safety. Does everybody still feel comfortable with just the opening statement there? And the other two were already taken care of. The bullets were taken care of, but the opening statement. Any thoughts? Councilmember Oxker.
Yes, I think on public safety, one of the things that would be extremely helpful if we were to ask for some relief on the restrictions for traffic cameras, stoplight cameras and stuff. Right now, we're restricted to public safety issues. We need to open the traffic calming, yes. We need to open that up to all public safety. It's it's an opportunity for us to, have the people that are causing the problems, that are putting a greater demand on our public safety needs, have them pay for it. And I think, just in particular, we've got revenue opportunities that we're looking at over the next couple of weeks with regard to, the next year's budget. It would make things a heck of a lot easier if we could use those funds for more than just traffic calming.
I think,
Okay.
based on our conversation, Councilmember Oxiger, if I'm capturing it correctly, we had talked about expanding the existing, how the existing legislation is written regarding the uses for the proceeds from the traffic cameras and park zone cameras. And then I think secondly, and I can't remember the bill number, but I have shared it with Anthony before, looking at expanding the level of like automation tools that cities have as legally accessible to them, including like stop sign cameras and noise cameras. Does that capture?
1423.
Yep, thank you.
Actually, it's switched over now. It's engrossed Senate bill, whatever, 1423 now or something. So.
Yeah, and we had a discussion about that with the Association of Washington Cities Lobbyists at a meeting last week, and that bill, it will either be language will be stricken and new language will come in, or there'll be a brand new bill, and that the city of Kirkland had a study on sound measurement with cameras, and they're going to be incorporating that. And that bill, the existing bill, it only allowed for 3 more cities to come in, and at that Association of Washington Cities meeting, ourselves and about 6 other cities all said, yeah, we're interested in this. So we don't want to be fighting with our city brethren to see who gets to use these tools. We ideally just want to open it up so that everyone who wants to use it can do so. But there is interest, and there will be action on. Hopefully, there will be action on this, and that would make sense. Yeah, and your point on making it broader than just traffic calming, that makes. Yeah, I think our city brethren would agree with that as well.
Well, there is one other provision in the law, and it says that it does allow for stop sign cameras, automation of that. However, it's restricted to cities of 500,000 or more, so it's only going to Seattle. I mean, we need to we need the relief across the entire level of cities across the state that. The demands for public safety funds is great, and so this is one way that they can just unfetter the cities and let them deal with these issues.
Well, and especially as the state ended up taking a larger chunk of revenue from those cameras here recently, as the state is looking for more funding, that also. Could augment the argument for letting smaller cities or cities other than Seattle pursue that as well.
But they are critical. There are critical issues with regard to these automated systems that go beyond just revenue or anything else. It's really public safety.
Yes, thank you.
And it would probably be more accepted if those funds stayed within public safety as opposed to general fund. But we need public safety dollars too, obviously.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah, I agree with everything that Councilmember Oxinger said, and just to expand that one little bit more is there's a limit on the number of speed cameras that we can have.
Right.
And we keep hearing we can only put in 3 more. And being allowed to expand that, if we can find the funds to get the cameras, of course, but having the ability from the legislature to expand the number of speed cameras would be very helpful, I think, for a lot of cities. I would expect most cities would support it.
My question on that is just double checking, number of cameras, you have to use 2 per location in order to capture people going both ways, isn't that correct? So in other words, sometimes I wonder if when the legislation was passed, the thought was you were going to get 3 locations, and you don't. You get 1.5 locations for 3 cameras. Is that correct?
Our understanding, our interpretation is that it is locations.
3 locations?
Yeah, so it would be six total cameras.
6 cameras. So you're asking for more locations. Okay.
Correct.
Thank you.
More locations.
All right, anything else on public safety? Councilmember Harris.
Whenever I hear the word perfecting, I get, is there, anything beyond, does this in any way make us nervous as to how we might implement what we're going to discuss in a few minutes? Never mind. There was the discussion last year about ongoing dollars for recruiting. Is that part of what you're talking about, or is that already passed?
They have expanded the number of academy slots and a number of academies. So there is a concerted push to train more officers. If that's
And that
Yeah.
funding is part of the public safety sales tax that you'll be talking about later tonight. So
Okay.
that program includes grant funding for new officers.
But nothing beyond that. This is the thing. Okay, all right. Never mind. I'm just, I agree with what my colleague said, but this is a totally different thing, but I would love to see traffic calming stuff be available for road improvements. I think of traffic cameras, and it's just one-time money that you can't predict over time, and that to me is more appropriate to capital spends, because the amount declines over time, and one hates to hire police officers and then have the money half after 3-4 years from the camera. But that's just me. Anyway, thank you.
Checking in with you, Councilmember Nutting. You're good on this public safety?
Yeah, I have nothing more to add.
All right.
I agree with my colleagues. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
Yeah, and one more point that falls under the rubric of public safety unrelated to the cameras and things is that the Washington State Supreme Court has determined that we need to change the caseloads of public defenders and radically bring it down.
Right. Right.
There is no jurisdiction that can afford what has been proposed.
Right.
Period. I think we need to be working with our colleagues to try to find a solution that would allow that to happen. It is the right to representation is a fundamental American right, and our Supreme Court has said that we need to bring the caseloads down in order to achieve that. And so we need to be looking at some way, and I don't know the way, to try to fund that. So that should be part of our legislative agenda, at least, is to work with our colleagues on that. It may not be our specific ask, but I think we should be supportive of that.
No, it's a big issue, so certainly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay.
Great. Councilmember Oxiger.
Yes, one additional thing is, I think we need to, I'm trying to think of whether it's eliminate or make universal, the issue of, especially with the traffic cameras, you can submit an affidavit saying that you were not the driver of the car. I was discussing with the Puyallup judge last night, and she said she dismissed approximately 150 tickets because people had submitted affidavits saying that they weren't driving the car. Now, and as she pointed out that, they're expecting people to be on their honorable and not just submit something that amounts to perjury, but 150 people were submitting saying they weren't driving the car. This doesn't apply to, you're responsible for your car if it's parked wrong or parked in the wrong place. Any other, it seems we have this, schizoid thing that says that no, if you're at a traffic camera or something that, you can get out of it by claiming that you weren't driving the car. You're still responsible for that vehicle.
So you're making a recommendation?
Close the loophole.
Okay. All right.
Hmm.
Good.
Okay.
All right. Any other thing on public safety? All right, let's move to funding requests. We said that we we weren't going to submit anything direct, but did we still want to support lifting the 1% property tax cap? And you said you thought that that was going to make another appearance, or no?
Yes.
Yes,
But-
you
but-
think it is?
But that being said, likely our best chance was last year.
Okay.
So the members of the there was a meeting of the coalition that was trying to get this passed. The members are fairly not optimistic.
Okay, so like AWC?
Yeah.
So are they going to have it on their legislative agenda?
It will at least be pushed. The likelihood of success is not high. I would think right now, but also legislative session, things start and.
In a short session, so are you recommending no? Is that, that's what the vibe I'm getting.
I think the council has supported this in the past. I think if it gets legs, we should, because this would fundamentally help the budgetary prospects and outlook for the city going forward. We should probably continue to support it, but Jeff shouldn't put it in the budget quite yet.
Okay. So you're recommending not to put it on, but we can jump on the wagon if it gets big?
I think language that we continue to look to enhance local, a variety of different ways of local.
So I'm going to leave
Local
it to
income.
you to create a sentence then.
Yes.
Okay, anything else under that? Councilmember Mahoney?
Yeah, I think we need to leave it on. I mean, the reality is costs have gone up over the last several years, over 20%, and our revenues are like 3-4%.
Right.
This is the biggest reason all cities are having these financial, issues. It's a reality. The cap property tax, yes, it was designed originally to cap some of these bigger cities that were misusing their funds, is really what it was. But what it did was really kill the smaller cities and limit the growth. We're seeing it, and it's a reality. Most of us, we don't want to, right now we're in the method of having a nickel and dime to cover up the gaps where we can.
Right.
And you're going to hear me say this, but to take over and over again, but to take away an option, or if it does get to the table and there's cities already supporting it, I understand people who are at the state legislative position, they're trying to keep their jobs. They're not necessarily doing what's needed to be done and make the hard choices. That's just my candid opinion here, right? The truth is we're making a hard decision by putting it on because we need it as a portion of what's going to cover this gap that we're enduring. Otherwise, people are going to see a severe drop in their services. So I think it needs to stay as a statement, just like AWC sounds like they're going to continue the message that, and it also reiterates, like you were talking about the traffic cameras and other ones where they're looking for, they're stealing from the cities on these things that are policy to bring money to them. And I know they need money, but this reiterates, we need money too.
Right.
Whether they take it for now, but it has to be a constant conversation. And are they willing to make the tough decision and put it out there despite, I understand when you're living by polls, right? You're trying to get reelected, you're not doing what's right.
Right.
And, I just think we need to. We've been doing it. It shows consistency, and I'm hoping all the other cities do as well.
So does anybody from the dais have a strong statement against leaving this on? Does anybody want to take it off? Councilmember Harris.
I don't have a statement per se. If there's a compliment coming, if you continue, City Manager, to do a great job in terms of selling the city, this is something that the voters will take care of. That's really what it is, and I want to acknowledge your complete upgrade in that was the difference last year. Okay, so I'm done.
So it looks like the council's in favor of keeping it on. If you could come back with the draft statement and we can work it if we want it to be stronger. Okay. Deputy Mayor Simons.
Yeah, further on funding issues, I'm framing it not requests, but it
Okay.
is that there is a strong tendency in the legislature to have unfunded mandates.
Yeah.
And to try to find, basically pushing costs down to the cities. And I think we need to very actively oppose anything that looks like it's going to cost the city that's not being paid for. Including, there was a bill that allowed lawsuits against cities last session.
Right.
And they could be brought just basically because there was not shelter available for somebody.
Right.
And I think we need to say that's not right, because what you're doing is you're just pushing an unfunded mandate back. So I'm not quite sure of the wording at this point. We're not trying to wordsmith it, but I think that needs to be part of our funding issues, is to assure that the legislature isn't just trying to push a cost downward, but in fact, if they're looking to change the behaviors of cities, then they need to fund the behaviors of cities to pay for that.
And that bill, and as you know, like all the other bills that didn't pass, is still alive, and will be.
It will be back.
Yes.
I already know.
New jolt of life come
Yes.
January. Yeah.
So I just, whether you like the idea or not, there's a funding piece that was absent from that, and that's what we need to focus the argument on.
Got it.
All right, anything else under funding? Okay, airport issues is next, and we had 4 basic statements last time that went under this category. Councilmember Mahoney.
Mayor, this is just going to take a few minutes, but I kind of wrote some notes down, and I've been talking to a lot of people, and I think we need to open a discussion. And what I'm proposing is we go in a different direction. I think we need to admit that the airport's not going to go away. It continues to grow until it can't. It's just going to be that way no matter what we do. We've seen it happen and so forth. The legislators that are at the state level, let's face it, nobody has a stomach for a second airport. We were one of the drivers to try. A couple committees shot down, or they manipulate them or load them or whatever. It just doesn't happen. It's a reality. 30 years ago, our legislators, when the third runway was coming in, had an opportunity to site a second airport. It takes 20 to 25 years through the infrastructure and everything to get another airport. The past legislation, when they did this and they had the committees and shipped around, already put it back another 5. The fact is they want to keep their jobs. They don't want to do what's right for the greater good of the community, and we do need a second airport. It's not an immediate help, but it would be a long-range one. And we'd be much different had they done it then. We've got issues with port packages and noise abatement and, in buildings and houses, right? We've got a lot of people, science says the area around the airport has health issues, higher than other demographics and regionality and areas, right? And we all know that. Science says that. If you look at the EPA side, the rates of cancer around an airport and so forth are commuted. How much they're connected to the airport versus health and stuff, but it's there, and there's the realistic thing, and everybody knows it. There's like I mentioned before, the siting of a second airport isn't going to happen until we absolutely have to. We can't dismiss, all of us live in the community, the negative impacts we impact every day with noise and possible pollution. And the biggest thing is, with a port package or health or whatever, there's not money for it. There just isn't. So I've been floating an idea with a few people, talking around, and then kind of the clincher was at the Part 150 meeting, Senator Orwell and I had a quick conversation. And she had a similar idea, but she hadn't expanded to the level I think so. I'm more like, we can pay for noise machines, and we can pay for air quality machines, and we can fight this and we can fight that. And I'm not sure we can win any of those. But here's what's realistic. I propose something different, and it's not going to be a short-term legislative agenda. It's a long-term, and we're going to need to get other cities and counties and so forth on board. But I'm proposing a negative impact airport usage fee statewide. This would be something like $2, $3, $5 per ticket of any passenger using a commercial airline or airport that is assessed into an account. Say a third of it, I don't know what the ratios are, but I'm going to talk hypothetically. Say a third of it goes to like port package and noise abatement issues in the homes that can't be funded currently. And this isn't new taxes that they have to create. This is a usage fee that directly pays for the negative impacts we get as a community. I know King County has been as Tina told, or Senator Orwell told me, they've been looking to put a facility in the South King County near the airport because of the health issues, right? This is a way to pay for that the county doesn't have to come up with the money for. And then finally, the clincher where you get the cities and surrounding airport communities is there's a distribution of a portion of that goes to the communities, and it could be used for capital projects. When Tina and I were talking, she instantly said, oh, community center, that soundproof and noise. I thought about some of the things we're trying to do on 223rd and throughout the community to improve it. So the thing is yes, we have to live with the airport, and we live with the fact that they're not going to address the issue, but at least we can be compensated for this, and we could take some of that funding and do some of these things. The ferry service and some of that funding, maybe that's an avenue, but there's monies that could be used for particular things to improve the quality of life in our cities that take the direct hit from the increased air traffic we're going to get over time. And this would be statewide. So Spokane would do it. Bellingham would be at Boeing Field, Payne Field. And when it does come time for expansion, at least there'd be a vehicle for them, right? When they're going to expand from 23 flights to several hundred or whatever it is, there's going to be ways and incentives for them to get compensation for the negative impacts that are eventually going to be shoved down somebody's throat like we get today. So I'm more like, let's think of it differently than we do today. We do these kind of things and we're nickel and diming trying to fight a giant. I'm saying that fight isn't one we're ever going to win. But if we can be compensated for it and we can use it to the greater good of the community, both in their homes and reducing the noise and quality and air quality in their homes, we can help them with the subsidizing medical attention for those that need it or directly need it, and the communities themselves benefit, we should. And I know there's issues at the federal level and the state level on this, and it's not an easy haul. But it changes the game and the direction we go. Because, you know, if I stand in front of a train and it's going 60 miles an hour, I'm going to get splattered, right? But if I can do some other things and get out of the way and make my life easier, it's going to be a better ending. So I'm more like, we can put all these other things down and they're nice and we can support bills, but the truth is we got to ask ourselves, are we going to get anywhere? And I'm saying no, we really haven't. You know, all they're going to do is verify what we're going to do and it's going to get ignored. That's what we've seen over the decades. We've seen it before, and I just believe that. But if we can change the thinking, at least start the process, this is a way cities like ours can benefit from the hit we take for the entire region. And just really quick, the ending is, so think about it. I live in I have a person who lives in Marysville. They come and are using our airport. They take off and they land here on their trip to Disneyland. They don't suffer the negative consequences. We do, right? So what's wrong with that? It's a usage fee. So anyway, I think we got to think differently. And that's, sorry about taking a little bit extra time, but I'm passionate about this. I've looked over the years. I've seen us beat our head against the wall. We got to do something different.
So Anthony, is this something where you would have an opportunity to meet with Senator Orwell to come up with suitable language that she agrees is something feasible that she could work on? In other words, could you get a phrase from her that's legitimate? When we've talked about usage fees before, or that there's a conversation about legality or ability to do it. So not to enter into that conversation, just do you think that when this comes back that you would have an opportunity between now and then to visit with Senator Orwell to come up with a sentence or two in this regard?
Very likely.
Okay.
almost certainly, I'm thinking that she would want to have it checked by legislative staff and attorneys.
Yes,
on-
yes, all of that.
Yeah.
Just wondering if you feel like you can do that.
Yeah.
Okay, good. That's a big topic. I don't necessarily want to open to like a giant conversation about it tonight, the feasibility on that. Just if you could come back with
Yep.
that
Okay.
would be fantastic. So the next question is, do we want all of these other 4 things to come back in a draft as well? So, air quality monitor, has that already been done?
Yeah.
So that
we
can
can-
go
we can
off,
check that out.
okay?
Yeah.
Airport community impact study. State funding for a city-led independent, so that stays on, because that hasn't been done, and is that something we are interested in pursuing? Pardon?
I thought we got the money for that. Did we not?
Airport community impacts.
Yeah,
That's the air quality monitor.
Similar, like an update of the HOC.
yes,
right?
exactly.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so then that's a yes.
Okay.
Oh, do I get head nods on that? I'm looking at, okay, yes, everybody, good?
Okay.
And then, the sound insulation, SB 5955, et cetera, to allow unconstrained funding for the mitigation of public health impacts. Is the council still wanting to keep that on? Got a yes there? Councilmember Harris,
A quick, just,
okay?
I want to reiterate that, you know, the $1 million was swept last year, and Flanagan and their entire leadership has said, oh yeah, we're going to work on that. Well, please, I hope we work on that. And to the extent possible, I'm hoping that Senator Murray's, I understand the chances are slim and none, but it was $3.5 million, and, you know.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. And then the last one, just before we even entertain that, I wonder if this should be on a state legislative priorities list as the start really is the airport community's message to our federal government. So I don't know if that, no matter how we feel about that one way or the other, should that stay on this?
START now has 2 different priority sheets, one for the state and one for the feds. And so this one, it doesn't say it, but it should be only the state on this one.
All right. I would like to open on this. I'm 50-50 on that.
Yeah.
Because when I went down to advocate last year, the port used our collaboration against us in public testimony to convince the committee to not be in favor of the things we were asking for. And, you know, they can present a case as much as they want. And I'm not saying we shouldn't participate in START. I think it sends a mixed message if the port is going to use their collaborative position in testimony against the things that we're testifying for. So I wouldn't get heartache if we took this off. Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, if you go down the specific language of the Port shared agenda, sorry, Port, it's all rubbish. It's literally contrary to our interest at every point. However, I strongly advocate the city and the Port working together wherever possible. And if there was a sentence in there that indicated we are more than, you know, we want to work together on the legislation where it actually fits our interests. I'm sure you can come up with something far more eloquent in politics, but that's what I think it should be, rather than mentioning their legislative agenda per se.
And okay, and there will be a START policy committee meeting on Monday evening, and so we will know more about what these topics are and how relevant. They will likely be extremely close to what they were last year, but I can bring back some alternatives for council.
Everyone may disagree. I'm just saying, I strongly endorse, your good work with, our peers at the board. It's just basically signing off on that particular piece of paper is problematic for me.
Okay.
As the mayor said, it was a funny thing last year.
Right.
Thank you.
Okay.
So maybe collaboration in other areas, but there's a question of whether this document is the place to do it. Okay.
Understood.
All right. Any other comments? Councilmember Nutting, no. Councilmember Oxiger.
Just for a point of clarification on discussing about the impact fees, is that I would like to make sure that we're not just talking to Senator Orwell, we're also talking to Senator Wilson. We have two delegations representing the city, and together they've been quite effective in moving this stuff forward. So I think, and you may want to expand it to the entire, the House delegation too. I think that they've all been working, well together to advance our interests. So just expand that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Agreed.
And Senator Wilson is on Ways and Means, and this would be arguable if this is revenue or transportation, but I think more revenue than transportation. Yeah.
Okay. Historic preservation. Nice statement there. Oh, excuse me, I didn't see that. Go ahead, Councilmember Harris.
Thank you. Just really quick, if there was a way to quantify the, their caucus interest in the bill, that would be, I'm mindful of it being a short session, and, if there are like 45 people who are like, great idea, that's cool, but if it's something that there are going to be like 6 votes, that's my worry, is how much energy we put in, if there was a way to quantify that. The other thing is, I would ask you to take a look at HB 1303. This is just, mentioned it before, it's Representative Mena in Tacoma, and it's that curb thing, and people read into it. I'm just saying that it really has environmental support, and just if we're trying to get something that has some momentum, that would be something to think about. Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Are we good moving to historic preservation? Any other comments before we do that? All right. There's just one short sentence there. We still feel in favor of that? Do I have head nods? Anybody?
I would mention that this is probably not the year that anything is going to happen there. However,
I just interjecting there, I just think along the lines of what has already said before, I think by Councilmember Mahoney, is that it stays in people's consciousness that we have made a statement in front of the community.
Okay.
I think this is an important year and season for making sure that we represent our community.
That's fair.
Okay. And it's just one sentence.
Yeah.
All right. If there are no thoughts on that, more ferry development. Is there anybody that wants to take that off? We'll just go there. All right. So,
well, Mayor and Council, I would actually ask that you consider, I know there's
consolidating
still,
that?
well, no, I think there's still a commitment to electric passenger-only ferries, but the most recent efforts with King County Metro have really been about any type of passenger ferry. Do you still feel like it has to say electric?
I don't feel like it has to say electric. Passenger-only ferries are still a very, they're very, economical, like what they're saying with a year, no driving, there's something like a no driving week or no driving day or something like that coming up. And so passenger ferries still address the emissions issue around the sound. Go ahead.
I know both of us are flagging. I think, the thing is that we'd love to see green methods of transportation in the future. If it's a transition from a ferry service that eventually heads to green, or maybe we language it that way. I mean, obviously we want to do that, but obviously as the technology catches up and so forth and goes forward. So just to get the ferry service is a win. To get electric service and ferry
Passenger ferry is.
in a passenger
right?
is
no cost.
even better.
Right.
And we're making investments in trying to get charging stations and some other things, to be one of the premier leaders of that. But you take what you can get, and sometimes
Yeah.
it's baby steps. So we get a passenger ferry, great. And if that means we prove a route and 2 years later, they're like, you guys, we want to try the electric ferry with you, we win again.
Agreed. So if you can modify that to just make it more open to passenger ferries and go that way. Thank you. Good observation. Any other thoughts on that? All right, it looks like yes, Councilmember Harris.
Not to just grandstand or whatever, but this is disappointing to me. We're supposed to be doing a study, and we should do the study and then decide on this kind of policy thing. I see progress being made with Artemis and in Pierce County, Tacoma, and to my mind, we should push ahead with support for electric, and as that will, draw the universe towards us, unless we really feel that we will have demand with no evidence of a 150-seat. I mean, if you look at the King County water taxi, if you really think, without doing a study, that's, if you build it, they will come. I don't know, but do what you want. But I'm just, no. Thank you.
So, did you have something that you wanted to say? All right. So the main statement there is Des Moines supports new grant funding to spur the return of the Mosquito Fleet passenger-only ferries that will include routes connecting to Des Moines, and you could put that include routes and electrification if you want. But I'm fine with making sure that this doesn't only speak to electric ferries.
Okay.
All right. Good. I think this was a great conversation. Thank you so much. And it sounds like you've got some direction, Anthony.
Yeah.
Yes? Okay,
And
excellent.
I will work with the city manager on getting this scheduled as quickly as possible to come back in the coming weeks.
Great presentation. Really appreciate the update.
Okay.
Thanks. Thank you. So next up is our Community Enrichment Services conversation. Community Enrichment Services was previously Parks, Rec, and Senior Services, and we're having our Assistant Manager, A.J. Johnson-Newton, coming up to give us a presentation. The purpose of this item is to receive a briefing and update about our Community Enrichment Services Department, and we'll see what she has to say.
Okay, no pressure. Good evening, council, community, staff members. My name is A.J. Johnson-Newton, and I am the Assistant City Manager. I want to highlight that tonight I have the Community Enrichment Services staff, formerly known as Parks, Recreation, Senior Service, Events, and Facility Rentals, here joining me. The other thing I want to say before I hop into providing a department update is that I want to acknowledge the challenges that our department has faced coming into 2025. As you'll recall, in 2024, the difficult decision was made to do staff layoffs. And this department in particular was most impacted by those layoffs. So I just want to thank staff for their resilience, their professionalism, and their efforts that they have made into this year dealing with challenging circumstances. So thank you, staff. Okay, next slide. So just want to give a little bit of background. What you know today as Community Enrichment Service used to be basically 4 separate service areas. So Parks and Recreation, Senior Services, Events, and Facility Rentals. And so each had its own focus, youth sports, camps, senior activities, community events, and rental operations. I wouldn't say that they operated in a silo, but they managed the activities separately. We also previously provided school-based childcare, which was revenue neutral but unsustainable due to staffing pressures and competition, and we exited that program in 2019 and 2020. So that did impact our revenue because that was a very successful program for before and after school at the school sites. Additionally, as everyone knows, we had COVID disruptions, and almost every program stopped. This side of the house was impacted by the mandates and the requirements, and so there was a period of time that there were no activities and no programming going on almost until 2021. So we essentially shut down services in 2020, and the first recreation activity that we started back up was April 2021 for soccer. So that's quite a long time. We did continue to have some rentals on the facility side, but if you guys recall, there were lots of rules about gatherings and all of that. So I bring that up to highlight the fact that we had a lot of challenges in the past 5 years. But on the other side, by 2022 and 2023, we were closer to our pre-COVID activity levels, but now we're operating in a different labor market and new challenges. Next slide, please. So where we are today is that we have taken back the day-to-day management of the activity center from Wesley. We started that in 2025. We brought Parks and Recreation, Senior Service, Events, and Facility Rentals. As you can see, that's a mouthful. So that was a plus, under one umbrella. And that was really designed to create stability and foundation for growth. And then we also adopted the name Community Enrichment Services, which really reflects our mission to enrich lives and enhance community. The other idea about bringing all of the talent, really, under one house was that basically it allows us to leverage what they were already good at, which was creating programming and activities, and be able to spread that knowledge and creative juice, for lack of a better word, to be able to expand programming. So we're really leveraging all the staff to approach all of the activities that the department does much more holistically. Next slide, please. So this is our current department structure. So our CES program supervisor, is Kyle, which I'm sure you may not recognize him because he's not in his Santa costume or his Easter bunny. So I appreciate them showing up dressed appropriately for the council meeting. And he's still managing the recreation, the youth sports, child care through Kelsey and Savannah, which again are probably well known to our community. Also the brain children behind Camp Chaos. And then on the other side of the house, we have Courtney Wilt, which is also a program supervisor. And she is in charge of the activity center in terms of the senior programming there. And then also large special events, so like the summer concert series would have came out of her side of the house. And then underneath her, she has Rob Thomas and Kim Payne, which just joined us 3 months ago. Thank you. Okay, next slide, please. So, Council, I want to acknowledge that I flipped the slides in your packet, so if you're following along, just look up. Okay. So, as we started to acknowledge the challenges that we were facing in the community enrichment services area, one of the things that became really apparent, I think, to the team is that, the work that we do extends beyond dollars, right? The value that our activities are really measured in outcomes. And so, when you define programs, that's only one part of the equation. We need to think about ways to be able to measure them. And since cities don't measure success like private businesses, like we're not here to maximize profit, right? We're here to maximize community benefit while being responsible stewards of our financial resources. And so we wanted to be able to provide a way to categorize the activities that we're doing that reflects the nuances of those activities. And so, because not all value in the work that we're going to do is going to show up as financial return. Some programs are going to support the rationale for continuing them just simply by and through participation. One example of that would be the senior lunches, okay? And so really what we're trying to do here is balance accountability with outcomes that matter to the residents and showing why some programs are worth continuing even if we're not able to achieve cost recovery. I think that's an important nuance and a discussion we need to have when we're looking at the budget. Next slide, please. So the result of that perspective is that we have been able to categorize our activities into like sort of 4 boxes. And so we have what we refer to as the anchors, and really that's our childcare activities, that's our youth sports, and it's rentals. Because what we expect is we know that we have consistent participation. I mean, we have strong participation, and that typically whatever dollar we expend, we usually make back. So we're calling those our anchor programs. On the other side of the house, we have our access and equity programs. And so these are the programs that we're going to design to increase participation from the community by reducing barriers to entry. So we want to make sure that people in our community can participate in activities even when they can't afford to. And again, I think Senior Lunches is a perfect example. That's a donation-based program. And then we also need to be able to look at the work we're doing and have an opportunity to explore different programs or activities to see what the interest is in the community. So when we're thinking through how we want to align our resources, we wanted to account for the fact that we need to continue to evolve. And we need to be able to articulate that to the community, and it needs to be able to be articulated in the budget. And then the last thing, of course, is our favorite special events. And so that's going to be our festivals, our concerts, our special events, basically anything that is bringing the community together to connect. Next slide, please. Okay. So after we started to sort of work through the operational framework, we knew it was really important to start thinking about how can we apply data to the work we do so we can support the decisions that we make. So one of the things we did, and hopefully members of the community in here and council took the survey, was that we started a resident survey on August 22nd that ended on September 15th, and where we asked questions about what does the community want? You know, as things changed after COVID, the community has evolved. We have different demographics in the community. So it was really important to us to find out, as we design things, we want to make sure it's what the community is interested in and wants to see out of this department. The other thing that we've embarked on is we did a Pierce city survey. We asked our neighboring cities what their fees are, what work they do to start to inform our practices to make sure that we're aligned. And then we're also looking at monitoring participation in our programs, you know, when's the peak use, and then how we should manage our programs, because one of the things that I think is unique about our department, maybe compared to other areas, and I'll borrow the city manager's definition, is that we are facility rich. So where other municipalities would have like one community center, one gathering place, one place where you could run all of these activities, we're responsible for trying to manage activities across 3 different places. So that makes, you know, staffing challenging. And so we're really trying to approach that very thoughtfully. And so we can put the programming where it needs to be, we can staff up accordingly, and we can make sure that the hours and availability match what people really want in the community. Next slide, please. So I'm going to delve a bit into the resident survey because it was, I will say it provided lots of good information. So we had a total of 334 responses, which was great. Statistically, that is great for a population of our size. In the demographics, the group that responded the most was 65 years and older, and then right under that was 35 years to 64. So that's kind of broad. Aside from English, we learned that the other top 3 most common languages is Spanish, Tagalog, and Russian, which means we need to do more work in making sure that the materials we put out are available for people that English may be their second language. And then we also found out, at least through the survey, that people who responded, 30% of them had children, and then 12% reported a disability, which actually we're viewing as good information for us to start to create more accessible programming, because that's something we learned through the survey. And then the top 3 neighborhoods that responded first was Central Des Moines, Zenith, and then North Hill. Next slide, please. Sorry, I have to use my notes here because I can't read this fully. Okay. So we asked the residents, like, how do they interact with our programs? And so what we found through that is the #1 way that the respondents interacted with our programs is through city events. And then after that was senior programs, on down all the way to Camp Chaos. Now, one thing I would say about the survey is we know, based on our enrollment numbers and the fact that we have wait lists every year, Camp Chaos is a valued program in the city. So while that may not have been reflected in the survey, and we think that's probably due to just the demographic of people who responded, they just don't really have a need for childcare maybe at 65 years or older. We know, and I wanted to highlight to the council, we know that Camp Chaos likely would have ranked higher if the demographics would have been shifted a bit. And so, 83% rated our events positively, which I think is great. 69% satisfied overall with our programming. You know, after COVID's not bad, but it's not good enough. So that's, you know, we need to really try to get that number up, make sure that we are in tune with our participants and asking what we can do better. So that's an area for growth for us. But basically, overall, our programs enjoy strong satisfaction, especially our events. Next slide, please. The other thing that we learned is that they want a more the community would like us to focus more, put some more youth programming out, senior and intergenerational programs. And so that has been a priority. One of the successes, I think, in this last hiring with campaign is that she came from the YMCA. So it's provided a different perspective on the programming that we have. And as we know, the YMCA does programming well. And so she has been really instrumental in just bringing new perspective and new ideas I'm not sure that we considered. And so we've been doing a lot of talk about intergenerational and family activities. So I'm excited what's to come. Things that people mentioned that were barriers to their participation, cost and affordability, I don't think that was a surprise. The program timings and offerings, and then, of course, as I mentioned earlier, like language and disability access. So what this means is we need to turn our attention to this to make sure that our programs can be accessible and that we are, again, offering things that people in the community can actually participate in and really being more inclusive in the activities that we put out because there's a demand for it. In terms of support for fees and scholarships, residents are open to modest fees, meaning programs that have been maybe traditionally low cost or free, they are open to us doing a modest charge if there's a benefit in that maybe the funding supports a scholarship fund. There was, again, with that said, they also want to make sure that we can keep our programs affordable and accessible and that people in the community can attend. But we were very heartened to hear that the community is willing to share the cost to expand opportunities. I think that says a lot about our community. Next slide, please. So a little bit about how the categorization of our programs are affecting our budget strategy. So right now, the plan is for every program that we do is going to be evaluated both for its community value and its financial impact. Like that's going to be intentional work. Because of that, it's going to have us be more accountable to the use of our funds because we are going to be able to identify easily and quickly, normally up front, which programs are going to be designed to generate revenue and others that may need general fund support. And so all of that will be intentional from the onset of our planning. Again, I just can't say this enough. We know that not every program we're going to design is for cost recovery. Some of it's just going to be provided or designed for essential access, inclusion, and cultural benefit, and that seems to be a priority of the community. So that seemed to be aligned in what they said. And so our thought is by aligning our programming wins with financial strategy, we're going to strengthen our department for the long term and keep the services accessible. So I think next slide. Okay. So I'm going to turn it over now to Kyle Ellers. We'd like to talk about and highlight some of the early wins and progress we've had in 2025. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thank you for having me tonight. As AJ mentioned, I do moonlight as some other characters within the city when needed, but just wanted to touch on a couple things tonight on the recreation side of the house, kind of where we're at and where we're going. And I wanted to say that our numbers are trending in the right direction in terms of our anchor programs. We are seeing increases in both participation and interest based on the survey data that we received back. Our Camp Chaos summer program runs Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. and currently serves 80 kids per day. We are in the process of expanding that, and that is going to be up to 120 members next year. We could go more. It just really depends on how much hair my staff wants to keep in terms of the stress level. So our break camps, yeah, it's gone. You can see, yeah. So the Santa's like a little bit tough for me, honestly, with the beard gone too. So another anchor program we have are our break camps. We currently serve about 50 kids on our longer duration camps, which are 2 or 3 days plus. We typically see 20 to 25 kids based on the time of the year, whether it's related to a holiday or travel busy time. Those are Highline School District closures, so we follow their schedule closely. We also serve kids from St. Philomena and Woodmont Elementary as well. Our youth sports programs are continuing to climb in the right direction as well. We are back on track and trending in the right direction. We have a large contingent of younger children. This is a great thing because we see often if we have success, it continues to roll on throughout programming, and then 3rd and 4th grade, 5th and 6th grade, and so on and so forth. We're currently at about 130 teams annually, with about 1,500 players and participants that we see come in, throughout the doors. We do expect some additions, T-ball this year, and then some new pilot programs such as a 3-on-3 league that could possibly expand our offerings and participant reach. Another item on there, specialized camps. We're working on taking that data that we received from the survey itself, trying to grow in what we offer, spicing things up. Is there a new cooking class? Is there a new STEM camp that we can bring in to kind of make sure we're reaching every interest of the community? And then also, we do want to recognize all the stuff that we have going on annually, which are our UK soccer camps, our rave soccer camps, which are always free through the Sounders. We have Melanie's Dance Studio, we have Playwell Technologies, and then, of course, our longstanding Dog Obedience, which is always full, that runs year-round. But we are looking to expand on those, and staff are doing a great job of researching where we can grow. Down a bit there, continued development of partnerships and funding opportunities. We partner a lot with the City of Kent, City of Tukwila. This helps us expand. For example, our 5th and 6th grade girls basketball league couldn't go. We only had 4 teams. We're able to reach out to them. We partner with them. Instead of the 4, we have 8, and now exposes kids from Des Moines and meets kids in Kent. We also see a level of play that might be different. They're able to interact and grow those relationships, all the while not having to cancel our league on our behalf. So those kids are still getting to play. Additionally, we're just working on developing local and corporate sponsorships. We've had a lot of people approach us, and that really helps not only on the sponsorship side, but also the scholarship side. It allows kids to take the money that we might have and be able to participate in the programming that we offer, which when they may not have that. And then additionally, with the new combination under the CES umbrella, we do have more facilities. So more facilities means we can program different things. We've never had a cooking class, but now we have 2 commercial kitchens. So there's things that we can do now that we haven't traditionally been able to do in the field house. Another being adaptive recreation with ADA accessible buildings, intergenerational programming, cohabitation of the facility itself, and kind of moving towards a new generation of not just the senior center, activity center, but people are in there at the same time interacting. So another thing that AJ mentioned was the special events. We're really working to spice those up. What can we do in order to access and celebrate other areas of the community? We do a great job with the things that we offer, extravaganza, breakfast with Santa, staples, that we continually do, but we're looking to expand that and continue to grow on that side. Special shout out to Boo Bash. It's coming up October 18th, so if you haven't registered, that will be at the Senior Center, 5:30 to 8 p.m. on October 18th. We have a costume swap tomorrow. That will be 3 to 6 at the field house, so bring your old, get your new, walk out the door just in time. And then, like I said, we're really trying to focus on these early wins and feel good about them, but our focus and passion is to continue to grow and ensure we're just serving the city as its full potential. So, pass it on to Courtney.
Hello, good evening. Next slide. There we go. I've had the great job of being with the city now 4 years, little over 4 years. And getting moved to the Activities Center is becoming really fun. We are reimagining how we use the word senior to better our community. Our programs are expanding to include younger seniors, older seniors, and newly retired residents, offering fresh and new opportunities beyond what some of our surrounding partners provide. In addition, we are excited to start programs to introduce intergenerational activities that bring age groups together, creating meaningful connections and shared experiences. By developing events and activities that appeal not only to older adults, but also younger retirees and children, we're building a more inclusive, vibrant, and forward-looking for our future here in Des Moines. The Activity Center has gotten significantly busier since I have had the joys of being up there. 446 seniors had lunch just in the month of September there, with the average of about 30 people Monday through Thursday. In the month of September, we had 23 new seniors come through our doors. Participants are coming from Des Moines, Berrien, SeaTac, Tukwila, and Kent for all of our programming. Our Fall Currents offers 18 new programs in addition to regular scheduled programs. Our trips and outings have doubled. We are now looking to provide a second driver for our buses and have increased by 35%. We had over 100 seniors this year attend our senior barbecue down at the Beach Park Event Center. That was really cool to witness. And then I also get the amazing job of working down at the Beach Park. I think that is the best office here in the city, and anybody can fight me for that. In 2024, we had 87 events. This year, we will have 101. If anybody attended our summer concerts this year, they were by far the biggest crowds that I have ever seen. One of our biggest crowds was 1,300 people in attendance. The other one was just a little over about 1,000 people. Each were continuing to grow. Our sound master, Dave Wamsley, said that he has never seen that kind of groups working in the city. So he really was proud of that. So am I. The dining hall and the Founders Lodge did get a facelift with new paint this year. We also got trim lighting, so it kind of helps. If you've been down there in the evening hours, you know it gets pretty dark down there, so that trim lighting helps. And then we are getting updated Wi-Fi. Our Wi-Fi, I always say, isn't great, especially if the planes are landing one way. We're in a hole surrounded by trees. But when working with our IT department, we are now getting basically brand new Wi-Fi, I think, come next week. So that'll help with our groups that want to come in to do like conferences and that kind of fun stuff. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next slide. And so our path forward is really that the programming and activities that we do are going to be community driven, period. We're going to make sure that we have a balanced approach of how we pick our programming between sort of our anchor programming and then our exploratory programs. We're going to make sure that we have our outcomes in terms of the activities that we're doing are inclusive and that it recognizes or provides an opportunity for all of the residents of Des Moines to participate. And that finally, and just as important, that the work that we're doing is sustainable. Right? So it's very important to us to have activities and programs for the residents that they enjoy, but we also have to do that in an operational framework that respects the tax dollars that we're paid. And so we're feeling pretty good. I think we have a lot of good news to share despite the challenges. And like I said at the start, I'm really, really proud of the staff. I'm very grateful for them. Next slide, please. So this is your turn. You don't have to give particularly this feedback. This was just to prompt some discussion. Thank you.
All right, well, I wanted to open up with any clarifying questions first before we answer her questions. Any of you have questions? Is Jeremy still? Okay. Any questions? All right, I want to offer a comment too late, bud.
I'm trying to be first in line for comment.
Okay, well, thank you. I'm so impressed with this and the transitions that have been made, and wow, the activities, the attendance, the dynamic movement throughout our buildings and our fields. Great job. So impressed. So that's my only comment before we begin answering these questions, but it looks like Councilmember Oxker also has a comment, and then Deputy Mayor.
I particularly want to commend the staff and the city manager for the outreach to the civic groups that, have traditionally provided a lot of the support, and it waned for a while, but I think it's back, and it's greatly appreciated, and everybody's doing a good job. Thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, I think this is fantastic. My kids grew up in Camp Chaos and sports. I coached baseball, I coached basketball, for a long time before. And one of the things I've always wanted to see getting back on the council was a re-innovation, if you will, of Parks and Rec, of teen kids sports, of the activity center, of, really getting everything going again. And it's wonderful. It's just great to see. A couple of the programming mix shows a very good balance. I would like to, suggest that there are some cultural groups that have, for example, participated in the parade before. Hispanic dance groups, in particular, is what's coming to mind immediately, and it's worth trying to track them down to see if they would be wanting to participate. I think the priorities are pretty much spot on. I do appreciate the idea that there is value that is not necessarily financially paying for itself, but there's another piece to that, because I do think that all of these activities are very important to bringing the community together, and all parts of the community together. And I think your outcomes are exactly what's being asked for. I think that was reflected in the survey, and certainly as you continue to grow, I look forward to more offerings. So spot on. Thank you. This has been a great presentation and a great reworking, and a lot of work that went into making us a viable community enrichment services piece again. Thank you.
Councilmember Mahoney.
I just appreciate the fact that you've done with much as you can with less, which is an understandable challenge. I think you guys are excellent leaders. On the rental facilities, because nobody really called that out, the increase in number, and continue to do that, because that is one of our ways to help pay for some things, and I really appreciate the efforts there. And as you adjust valuation for the service it provides, my hope is that council will support you in the new rate structures that are needed and competitive and so forth, and the ways to advertise. Investing in it to get the return, I see it there. So I wanted to say thank you to you guys, too. I saw a tremendous improvement. And then the Senior Service Center, that didn't really get mentioned either. And I thought that moving off, we've kind of had a couple transitions over the last 6 years or something, from using Wesley to, coming back to a service under umbrella. And I don't think you missed a beat. And we care about the seniors, particularly ones that use that service, because they need it. Having lunch may be the only decent meal they have all day, and we're aware of that. So I want to say wholeheartedly thank you. And the last thing, Kyle, is it Bad Bunny or Bad Santa? Sorry, man. It was when I heard both. Bad gets affiliated with it. But no, thank you for wearing the costumes and sweating. I've worn those costumes before, and, man, it's a sweat box, isn't it? Thank you.
Councilmember Harris.
Yeah, thank you very much. Just parenthetically, when your children move away, it's always lovely, but I have been blessed, and I'm not kidding. The greatest blessing to me in living in Des Moines is that I get this little endorphin hit living a couple of blocks away from Camp Chaos. I mean, it's real. In fact, if, my colleagues may disagree, but placemaking, that's the thing. I salute all of you. That is the reason people move here. Okay, I mean, the marina and stuff, everything, but man, it's just, if I were doing the video flyover or whatever, it would be Camp Chaos. And the only problem with these programs is that we need, pick a number, twice as many, more. And so I would just say, I've got a couple of specific questions, but the biggest problem I have with these kinds of things, and it's just because of who I am, I always try to prod people to give me the magic wand experiment. Show me the world, the ideal world, even if it's 5x beyond, but because what I've noticed with people who put on outstanding programs is that they are stellar at making the best of what they have, but you're so used to living within constraints, you don't think about the perfect world. And in my view, the perfect world would be a Camp Chaos in the south end of town, or just more of it. And I don't see the path to. I want to have that thing, that destination, and it could be 10 years from now. But I think that for the next generation is just something we should give serious consideration to. The survey does not really represent Des Moines and that's actually a compliment in that it shows us what other languages, Viet and northern India and so on. Boy, I sure hope we get an awning. I know that sounds like but to me, if we've rebranded the activity center, I would love to see an awning that just has a unambiguous, this is what we have pivoted towards. And other than that, the thing that I get from parents is that because people have been, there was something about during COVID, people were doing more remote work, and now that everybody's being, returned to office and stuff, they're finding it tougher to get their kids to, I'm not sure about the details, but apparently just the hours are tougher to manage if you've got to get over to Amazon or something like that. So whatever we could do to just expand options, and I know that's an awkward question given the budget and everything, but yeah, I just how do you get to more of this? I can't tell you how much that this really is the brand, and thank you so much. That's it.
Any other comments on those three items? Okay, well, just to add to my thanks, regarding the programming mix, to show the, not really the programming mix, but, I don't know, mix with priorities. And a way to pay for some things is possibly in the future, like boutique fair concerts, like ticketed concerts. When, I know that Chateau Ste. Michelle, they just have a big field and people pay a lot for those tickets to go sit and have a picnic on the grass and watch an upscale concert. And we've got an amazing venue, actually almost two, possibly another location coming up at the Steps, a possible way of creating an interesting venue for a small concert. So that might be a way to do it, still with the free concert series, but and then if we really do have to cut back, really deeply consider the things that do balance out. financially. I'm not sure what else to do. Maybe a combination of those things. Have something that, because when you look at Blues and Brews and our concert series, if you did something upscale, I think people would pay for it. So, my only input on that. All right, if you don't have any further comments, moving to the next item. Thank you so much, and for all of you being here tonight. Look at you guys. Appreciate it. Okay, the next item is our public safety sales tax. The purpose of this item is to consider a first reading of a draft ordinance that would enact a public safety sales tax. And we've got Jeff Friend and Matt Hutchins, I think, participating on this, as well as the chief, Tim, Catherine. I think everybody's got some input on this and available, so, or just Jeff, I'm not sure. All right, take it away, my friend.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Council, staff, and community. Representing the draft ordinance 25053 for public safety sales tax. Background. So last year, the legislature passed House Bill 2015, which provides local criminal justice funding by creating a local law enforcement grant program and creating a councilmanic sales and use tax for criminal justice purposes. Council directed staff to bring forward the draft ordinance to implement the tax at the September 25th council meeting last week. So there are requirements for imposing this sales tax. First of all, a law enforcement agency must comply with policy and practice requirements related to officer training, use of force reporting, de-escalation, and firearm relinquishment procedures. Secondly, the law enforcement agency would need to submit proof to the Criminal Justice Training Commission of their compliance. Thirdly, the city or county would need to receive funding from criminal justice sales tax, which is not a stringent requirement, as pretty much every city and county receives a criminal justice sales tax from the state. The city of Des Moines does receive the sales tax into the general fund. Last year, we received about $1.2 million. Lastly, voters have not rejected a criminal justice sales tax in prior 12 months. So thankfully, that's not property tax levy lid lift. The city has not rejected a criminal justice sales tax in the last year, so therefore, we would be eligible for this sales tax. And as a footnote, the Des Moines Police Department meets all of these requirements. Permissible uses of funds. Funds are restricted for criminal justice purposes, which in the bill is pretty broad. As far as broadly defined, activities that substantially assist the criminal justice system, which may include circumstances where ancillary benefit to the civil justice and behavioral health systems occurs. As explained to me today, when you think of public safety, you think courts, cops and jails. It includes these items: domestic violence programs, public defender staffing, diversion programs, programs to reduce homelessness, community outreach and assistance programs, alternative response programs, and mental health crisis response. So it's things that lead up to crimes and then the results of crimes is kind of captured in all those items. Financial impact. First of all, the sales tax rate, if the sales tax was adopted by council, would raise the rate in Des Moines from 10.2% to 10.3%. So it's a 0.1% sales tax, and so that would be increasing the sales tax rate here by that amount. Annual proceeds would be estimated at $450,000. And potential uses of funds, if the city was to receive these funds, would include police recruitment and retention, increased public defender costs, increased jail costs, mental health crisis response, and alternative response programs. So the proceeds could be directed at all of those items, or however council probably wishes. And then the Des Moines Police Department will also be eligible to receive grant funds through this bill to fund hiring, retaining, and training law enforcement officers. So there's a grant piece, as we mentioned, and there's implementing the sales tax. The grant and the sales tax have the same requirements, except the grant, one of the requirements is that you've imposed the sales tax. So therefore, you won't be eligible for the grant funds unless the sales tax has been implemented in your district. Timing, as far as implementing a sales tax, would be the Department of Revenue will collect the tax. Department of Revenue has certain start dates and notice deadlines for each date per Washington state law, which tends to be 75 days notice. So if the effective date for the sales tax was January 1st of next year, the deadline for telling the Department of Revenue would be October 18th. For April 1st, if that was when the tax was implemented, the deadline to notice the Department of Revenue would be January 16th. And for July 1st, the deadline will be April 17th. And so by statute, those are the dates that you can implement a local sales tax. Next steps. Should council adopt the ordinance establishing the tax, staff will bring back a future item to establish the special revenue fund. So though it's broadly defined, but we can also account for it in the special revenue fund, particularly since it is technically it's restricted and also has a reporting component to the state. So we would account for it there. So some of the costs that those proceeds would pay for would be not in the general fund, but would be in that special revenue fund. Council may choose to adopt the state legislation language or a narrower definition for the use of the funds. So if the council desires to restrict the funds further, I think it was asked last week, the council may choose to do that. And at the end, we have the suggested motion.
Thank you, Jeff. Before we entertain the motion, or do we have any questions? Questions only right now? Councilmember Harris.
This is probably a fool's errand, but do we have any certainty as to what the grant amount might be?
No. So the grant, the state is establishing basically a criminal justice fund, and the grant is subject to their appropriations. And so right now the Criminal Justice Training Commission is focused on the sales tax piece because that piece is still under development as far as the grant goes.
Would it be fair to say that the administrative burden of both the sales tax and the grant would be kind of the same thing? I mean, or would they be two different?
Yeah, they both have reporting requirements, so I think they would be similar, unless the chief has a different opinion, but from what I've read, they're similar, and there's reporting requirements to different agencies.
The only real question I have is that since there's uncertainty as to the grant amount, the sales tax piece is fairly forecastable, but the grant thing sounds a bit more nebulous. So I would, if there was a way to keep them sort of, so that we're not using that as part of a forecast.
Yeah, we haven't included the grant piece in any budget items or anything.
But maybe Chief Bo, because it's nebulous, but not. I mean, like, we know what it is for, and you've had some early indications that our application would be strong.
I just mean, is it going to be knowable? Is it going to be something where every year we kind of can predict within 5%, you know, how much it's
Yeah, it'll be a fixed amount. So it's seed money, and they're proposing, assuming that it's funded, which is the caveat here. Assuming it's funded, it'll be up to $125,000 per new officer hired for 3 years, seeding a new officer expansion. And it can't be supplanting other officers. So we can't do the game of adding positions and then taking them way over here. It has to be a true add, and then they will seed that for up to 3 years at $125,000 a year, with the caveat that we had mentioned a couple times tonight that the state budget has some issues. It is also completely separate from the sales tax from a budgeting standpoint, other than acknowledging, but we'll know that number because we'll apply for the grant, we'll be awarded the grant, we'll have a hard number before we get there.
The answer. Thank you.
Councilmember Mahoney.
This was to the city manager. For the public and us, can you remind us what your recommended use for the money, the $450,000 would be used for?
Yes, my recommended use would be for at least next year, one new police officer FTE. Offsetting some of the additional costs we'll be facing for indigent public defense costs. Reinstating animal control with with the Burien Cares model, because that is the most affordable model at this time. And then what I'd like to do is, right now, the GPS position, the co-responder one, is funded for the next 2 years through a grant. I'd like to use these funds to cover that position permanently once that grant expires.
Thank you.
Councilmember Oxiger.
Yes, one of the slides that was in the presentation last week was, I think, helpful. I'm trying to remember. This would add 10 cents on a $100 purchase.
Your pair of shoes example.
Yeah, it would add, now I'm trying to remember and hope I get my math right. So it's 0.1%. I think wasn't it $10?
Well, right, it was like you buy a pair of shoes right now, you're gonna pay $100.
Right, so the tax on the $100 would be $10.20. With this tax, it would be $10.30. So you're right, 10 cent difference. Yeah.
I think that's important that we keep letting the public know that this is not, oh my God, it's a huge tax. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions before we entertain a motion? All right, do I have a motion? Councilmember Mahoney.
I move to pass draft ordinance 25-053 to a second reading at the October 9th, 2025 regular council meeting.
I have a second. Deputy Mayor Steinmetz for the second. Discussion. Councilmember Mahoney.
The truth is as far as public safety is concerned, we need approximately $3.5 million annually to get us up to even close to state level. That includes additional officers. It includes their equipment. It includes SCORE, our other services that we do, our court system, equipment, everything that goes with it. This gets us 13% of the way. I'm willing to take everything we can get so officers can be safe and do their job well and support the community. So I think it's a step in the right direction. Is it perfect? No, but it's a step in the right direction, so I support it.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Deputy Mayor Steinmetz.
I definitely support taking that step. I think we do need more funding towards law enforcement, and this is a way that the legislature has allowed us to get there on a fairly minimal impact on people. So let's take that step.
Any other comments? For me, this could be spun as the public just voted against this kind of support. The fund, it sounds like it's going to be very similar to the fund that we were designing for Prop 1. And my understanding was the disagreement amongst several community groups was not lack of support, but a challenging relationship with the administration and funds and how they were being used. And I really believe that this has mostly been addressed and that's very clear to the community and has been being made more clear. And so I don't really sense that same kind of angst, if you want to call it, or frustration. And so to go out again to the voters to receive something like this as a support to our officers and our department would cost us $40,000. And so I feel like that is not necessary. I feel like I think this will be appreciated by the community, and I'm happy to support this. So, all right, with no further comments, all in favor, raise your right hand. It's 5-0 unanimous tonight. Thank you. Oh, and 5-0, thank you. And just to note, at about 7 o'clock or so, 7:15, we did lose Councilmember Nutting. So that's why a unanimous vote is 5-0 right now. Okay. With all discussion over, Our meeting is coming to a close. Our next meeting date will be October 9th, 2025. It will be a regular city council meeting. Please remember to pick up your things on your way out. And do we have a closing motion? Deputy Mayor.
To adjourn.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, raise your right hand. It is unanimous. We are adjourned.